Come here. Can I no, just... Can I ask you a wee question? There's a lot of folk walking about here now. It's a bit embarrassing, but did we just win 3-1 and have 2 goals disallowed? Oh, Jesus, I thought it was just me. I thought I was kind of imagining 3-1 and 2 goals disallowed. Absolutely sensational, tremendous. It's just good to know you're not alone. You know, you're imagining these things. You think it's totally. Just want to say a big thanks to Jim Boyd, first of all. Got a lot of thanks to give out the day. It's like an awards ceremony. It's like you've just won an Oscar or something. We all feel like we've just won a wee award or something like that. And it's quite appropriate that I'm thanking my agent, you know, and my parents and just everybody that's supported me. So you'll all be feeling the same as well. I bumped into a lot of folk today. It's been absolutely lovely, as if there was something in the air. But I'm going to start off by saying hello to Jim Boyd, who I didn't bump into today, but he got in touch the other day to explain the whole thing about the Schalke 04 reference on Das Boot. I know, we get a German head coach and straight in there with the war film references. It's absolutely pathetic, total lack of imagination. But I'm a man of my own era. That's the era I grew up in. You know, don't mention the war, which meant really mention it. But Das Boot, back in the 80s, and the whole thing, there's a bit in that with Schalke 04. It was probably that's how I welcomed Danny Röhl to the club. Was the podcast, one of the podcasts I put out during the week, because it's just, again, it's been another traumatic week for Rangers. We're leaving into November yet. I did a whole thing about the scene in Das Boot where the guy comes in and says Schalke have lost the game 5-0, and I could never work out what game it was, what year Das Boot is supposed to be taking place in. I couldn't find a season where Schalke had lost in the championship playoff. Anyway, Jim went in there and did the actual hard work and researched this, and he got himself onto a proper kind of Das Boot Schalke 04 website or whatever, and it turns out the game was made up. It was made up. That game didn't exist at all, and it just proves, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to watch German cinema, you should watch the proper new German cinema. You get yourself into some Rainer Werner Fassbinder, which is, of course, I'm going to start sounding, I keep going on about Fassbinder, I'm going to start sounding like the lassie, what's her name supposed to, the character? Jenny, she's a runner in the film that they're making, they're doing Tristram Shandy's, Tristram Shandy, Lawrence Stern's Tristram Shandy, but it's a cock and bull story. Is that it's a Michael Winterbottom film, with like Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon kind of playing themselves and all that whole scenario. So, that film there is a character, Jenny. She's played by Naomi Harris, and she's mad into, she's kind of getting a bit of a potential affair going with Steve Coogan. He thinks the better of it, and one of the reasons he thinks the better of it is because she keeps going on about Fassbinder and what Fassbinder does in his films. And Fassbinder, of course, kind of coked himself to death by the time he was like, probably the same age as Danny Röhl is now. Actually, I don't think he certainly didn't get out his 30s, did he? But it's Naomi Harris, and she's in Miami Vice, 6 degrees of Michael Mann. I can't help myself, but she's in Michael Mann's Miami Vice, the movie. You think about that movie, it's really along with Heat. I love the two of them, and they look fantastic. Miami Vice isn't in the same kind of league as Heat, but it's got a lot of the same kind of tropes and all that as well. And definitely, look, it was digital. He shot it digital the same as he did the Public Enemies, shot in the film. And calm down, Alex. It's okay. We can talk about the film. It's just difficult. You're usually the ambulance chasers. You're getting rid of them at the beginning of the video. It's a habit I've been getting right into a bit too much this season. It's kind of hard to break it now. But I know she's in Miami Vice, and there's a bit in Miami Vice where it's Crockett and Tubbs getting played by Jamie Foxx and the brilliant Irish actor Colin Farrell, and they're criminal for the CI, the criminal informant fella. Oh God, what's his name? He's such a good actor, really, right skinny guy. Absolutely no weight on him at all, but he's totally anorexic. He's in a couple of cracking films. He's always really good, but he's playing and he's same scenario as you get in Heat, where the real bad guys. There's bad guys, and he's like technically a criminal. But it's that kind of, he just born on the wrong side of the tracks, life was cruel to him, didn't have a chance. So the cops have got a lot, in fact, they're family friends and all that. They have them round for dinner and stuff like that. But then there's a proper bad criminals. It's the Aryan Brotherhood, who've all got the shamrocks on. I'm just saying, that's just the fact. They all wear shamrocks, Aryan Brotherhood, and the old prison gangs of white supremacists over there. So they've got his wife held hostage while he goes away and tries to, do something that's helping them, and then Crockett and Tubbs track him down by the side of the motorway, and they pull him out in his car, and their mate, their criminal informant mate, and they're saying to him, you know, and he's like, these guys they've got my wife in the house, they've got my wife held hostage. I need to get this, I need to get back to the house and find out. And they're like, no, it's all right, we've got guys there the now, we've got a SWAT team getting in there the now, and cuts to the house, and of course, same scenario as Heat, you know, with Dreo's wife, and it's Anna, and they say to him, they stand by the side of the motorway, this fella, and he's like, we've got a squad. I'm listening to him on the radio the now, and he's like, what's happening? He says, Jamie Foxx goes to him, you don't need to go home. You don't need to rush home. That's not a very nice way of breaking it to the guy that his wife's been murdered. So he just walks out into the middle of the motorway and gets knocked down by a truck. And it's things like that that make me think, Michael Mann films maybe not the best thing for me to be watching, to be obsessed with. I don't know what it is. I mean, they look great and all that, and there definitely is emotional depth there, and I like the way they deal with a lot of the emotion, a lot of the issues they deal with. But look, it's okay. You can talk about the game. They won 3-1. It's okay. You can just can't let it go, because that's the whole thing. It's like life is tough. Life is tough, and sometimes, you know, if you let your emotions get out there, you know, folk will use that against you, and you don't like it. And I think I love Three Colours White and all that. When he gives him the second chance at life, the guy wants to commit suicide, and he gives him bits of blank, and the guy's one of the most beautiful scenes in cinema history. And you know, what else have we got? Oh, Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility, you know, Emma Thompson and all that, you know, and when he comes in at the end, and it's not him, it's his brother that's get married, it's not him that's get married, and you're like, and she's doing Emma Thompson's doing proper greeting, proper, like, no kind of cinematic, cutesy greeting, it's like, you know, that kind of stuff, and you think, oh, this is brilliant, this is beautiful, this is so uplifting, this is so life-giving, but you don't talk, it's the same as I'm always talking about, I do the, it's Mary J. Blige. I just Mary J. Blige singing the phone book. I just can't handle it. It just needs to sing one syllable when I'm on the floor, and just buckets of tears. But so what I'll do is I'll listen to the Emancipation of Mimi. You know, listen, because she's. It's just because I can't handle the real blues, because sometimes you go through much actual pain in your life that you don't want to tap right into it, because it'll just go. And it was nice today to be able just to feel proper, lovely emotions. And I think there was a wee bit at the end of, not the end, like halfway through probably, we were up 2-1 at the time. Connor Barron was on the park, and he just tracked back. Connor Barron, who I was slagging for not tracking back fast enough the other night for that third goal. Brand scored against us, but he just tracked back, and I think the foul was given against him. Maybe it was Lyle Cameron, one of the two young blonde fellas anyway. Lyle Cameron or Connor Barron, just kind of, he came from behind. Like he'd lost the ball, but then he turned round and he just chased the guy back down, and he won the ball back. And Clancy gave Mr. Clancy, the referee, gave a foul against us, and the whole place like, whoa, Clancy, and it's like, yeah, but just Rangers players are fighting for the ball. They're supporting each other. They're not giving up when something goes wrong. And the whole crowd, the last thing in their mind is slagging the Rangers players. It's about slagging the referee. That old tradition. We're back to basics. We're back to the loveliest kind of atmosphere possible at the football, where we're all united, team and fans. And who knows how long it will last. We've been here so many times over the last 4 or 5 years. But it's only Danny Röhl is just in the door, and he's off to an absolutely lovely start. Just get into it. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg immediate post. I don't know if it was I think I spent half the game thinking it was a 4-4-2. Then I'm like thinking, no, is that a 4-2-2-2? And I was like, no, is that a 4-1-3-2? And I'm thinking, no, it's like a 4-2-3-1. It's just going, a lot of folk are going up really high, and really they're just being switched about a wee bit. But it was a 5. Well, it was a 3-5-2, I think, but it was mostly a 5-3-2, 3-5-2 that obviously can go to the 5-3-2. But I think at times it definitely went kind of 3-5-1-1. And it was really fluid. It was super fluid. And then Kilmarnock is that. I'm thinking, what I've seen wearing that away kit. That away kit Kilmarnock wearing the day is the home kit of so many other clubs. I'm thinking Cagliari. I'm thinking Genoa. I think, is it Newell's Old Boys? A bit like that as well. Correct me. I'm maybe pushing this too far. Sheffield FC. No, often attributed as being the oldest club in the world. Is it, I think Sheffield FC maybe with that kind of kit as well, or I might be getting them mixed up with another a different kind of a club altogether, but from the same era, the early kind of public schoolboy, like Eton, old Carthusians, old Etonians, or maybe Royal Engineers or something. One the first FA Cup winners, it's a right kind of proper old style strip, the half strip. Just a day when you couldn't really make up your mind exactly what was happening. There was so many different connotations coming off the actual details of what was happening in front of you. But the main thing is it was fluid and it was lovely and it was nice and it worked out really well. And that's us got a. I know we're still on single figures. We're still on single figures in terms of league games played, but that's us on to double figures in terms of the points we've got. So I think we've jumped another couple of places. We've gained 4 points on Celtic in the last 2 league games we've played with 2 different. We just keep changing the managers every week. Keep changing the head coach every week. There was Stevie Smith last week. Gained a point on Celtic. We'll go to Danny Röhl in the day. That's us gained another 3 points on Celtic today. That's the only objective. If we can finish above Celtic, we can catch Celtic any one season. We're going to win the league by default. Really, that's all you've got to do. That's your only target. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet tonight. My God, I haven't even checked out who's on Gersnet tonight, but it'll be 3 or 2 at least if there's any call-offs. I can't think there'll be any call-offs tonight. There's going to be plenty of folk volunteering to get on Gersnet tonight. That'll be 9:30, the flagship show. I'm sponsored by Gersnet. They're on 9:30 tonight, the flagship show. It'll be on live on the Gersnet YouTube channel. And I'm also sponsored by AI answers. AI. I didn't realise. I just, on this podcast here, and there's so many folk. I just met Eck there. I'm Eck, and I just met Eck for Livingston, who, I chat to every now and then on the posts, on the threads below the actual podcast itself. You can get in there on YouTube, and folks send messages, and it's just great fun. It's just a lovely wee smashing wee community we've got going there, and I can't thank everybody enough for getting in touch. But I'm bumped into Arthur at the end of the game there, and he's like, for fuck's sake, the length of your podcasts doing my nutting, mate. You want to just kind of get us something in there that's less than an hour long for a change, And I'm like, sorry, Arthur, they bother me. Arthur, different class. What a great guy. Arthur from EK, and then I'm meeting Eck for Livingston. It's the Newtown guys tonight, or the Newtown guys. But at the start of the game, there's a man who's come a very long way to get to this game today. Gaz, absolute legend of this here podcast and the posts below it. Long time supporter of myself, and that's great enough. But yeah, he turns up a day and he's got gifts. Gaz will know. At this moment in time, as I'm filming, that I've got quite a large package down below. You know what I mean? No, I just mean anybody who knows me even more intimately than Gaz will know that I'm talking about the fact I've got a tote bag there with gifts inside it. That package is just negligible. It's the fat pulls it off. Anyway, we don't want to talk about stuff like that. But Gaz come a very long way to be at today's game, and I don't just mean down for Aberdeen. He's come a very long way, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet him before it. And thanks, Gaz. Thank you very much, sir. You know what I'm talking about. It's like the Oscars, isn't it? It is like the Oscars. Everybody's getting on great. It's a big happy family because Rangers have managed to win a league game. A home league game before November. Oh my God. Can you believe it? I'm sponsored by AI. It's the answers. The AI answers you can give. When I'm doing answers to folk on these posts, folk are good enough to get in touch. It's now I don't know when it happened, maybe in the last couple of months. It's coming up with suggestions, AI suggestions for my answers. It's like imitating me, so I can just press a wee button. I did it with Andy last night. But I tell Andy, listen, Andy, I'm just going to send you the AI answer. Can you would you recognise the difference? It's just they can predict. It's frightening. Folk talk about it, and I'm always one of these guys who's really self-conscious about getting old. You can see how I look after myself. But no, you're self-conscious of having total old man patter. A lot of it's inevitable, I don't want to start wearing, the Bermuda shorts and all that, and getting the open top sports car and getting a toupee and that kind of stuff to try and fight the aging. But a lot of stuff's inevitable. But at the same time, you don't want to be one of the guys that's just like, oh my God, saying the same thing 50 times to folk and all that. Watching these podcasts, but you try. So I try to go along with it. Like the PlayStations and all that. They're wasting Wayne's minds. They should be outside. It's like, no, these things. You watch. Was it Charlie Brooker I watched in Screenlight when he was talking about how Medal of Honor, which I've played, and it's like the heroes of the Telemark and all that kind of stuff. It's so historically accurate. It's actually a really good way for Waynes to learn their history and learn about the Second World War and the beautiful remembrance thing Beautiful remembrance. Tifo in the Sandy Jardin today. Beautiful to see some of the folk on the park for the services there. It was tremendous. Terry Butcher at half time as well. What a fantastic job he's doing for people who've come out the armed forces. But and what a fantastic job he did for the Teddy Bears, by the way, when he was a legendary player for us. But I think that's a good way for the Wednesday to learn about actual history. It gets a bit boring when you just get a whole lot of stats and a whole lot of dates, but to be in there and you're actually fighting. Telemark's an area in Norway. I've talked about Norway. You've ruined it now. You've ruined it. So I try to be a bit kind of, no, I'm trying to see it from them youth's point of view. Try to stay down with the kids and that kind of thing. But there's certain, I'm not, but AI, I've given up. No, I'm going to go pure old man. It's just quite terrifying how easily it can impersonate me. And the problem that I've realised is all my answers to folk start off the same way and end the same way. Because I can only say what I actually mean, which is I really appreciate you coming onto the pod. I really appreciate you spending your time on it. Thanks very much. As you know, I can talk for Scotland when it comes to describing Rangers games or whatever like that, but when it comes to saying thanks to folk, I'm really quite limited, which is terrible because it's the one thing I should be doing. So the terrifying thing, and maybe that's why AI can impersonate me so well, because my vocabulary is so limited. I'm just spinning this stuff out of control because I'm used to doing it, and to get rid of the ambulance chasing Celtic fans, but it's there. I should be getting on, the threads of a Celtic state of mind right now. I've never done that. Have you ever done that? This is one of the rare opportunities we have to do that, although they just come back at us and go, Christ, we're still above you in the league, what are you going on about? But I don't mind, because the whole thing is 10 years ago, and it's quite symbolic. 10 years ago, we beat them in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. But yeah, I had to put up with them slagging me, Celtic, because we'd lost to Hibs. Hibs had won the Scottish Cup for 114 years. They beat us in the final. They're like, what an absolute beamer. No, I'm actually glad we get beaten in the semi-final. No, you weren't. You were totally humiliated getting beat. The only time lower league side has won an Old Firm game, and you're on the wrong end of that, but at the end of it, it's getting slagged rotten for the Hibs creating football history. Well, the Jambos haven't won the title for, what's that, 1960, so that's what, 65 years. That's just kind of run about half of your 114 years. So the Jambos haven't won the title for 65 years. So I don't mind you finishing second. I don't mind you finishing above us to finish second, so we can slag you rotten in exactly the same way. As long as we beat you in the Old Firm games. We should get on. I know lots of lovely guys, Celtic guys who come on here, and I'm just getting right in their face because I'm just not used to it. I don't know how to cope with Rangers winning and Celtic going backwards a few steps, especially when we're playing them next week. I'll get to the point. What am I saying? What do you do after the sponsorship thing? It's the AI thing. You've done that. You've done Jersey. Oh, you did the song, right? My name is Alec Anderson. Love is in the air. Everywhere I look around, love is in the air, every sight and every sound, and I don't know if I'm being foolish, I don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when I look in your Killie pies. Can you hear the sighs of relief from the Bears, 'cause Rangers have won their first home league game before November. Love is in the air, love is in the air. And it's for Danny Röhl. It's for Danny. The Umlaut of Love, the love is for Danny Röhl. And that's why I started talking. That's another reason you got to keep down with the kids, because they humiliated me, didn't they? Union Bears humiliated me today, because I spent so much time in the pod the other night explaining the whole thing about how Danny Röhl, we're all these puns about rock and roll, and you got to roll with it, and I know it's only Danny Röhl, but I like it. And then I was like, no, but it's actually Danny Röhl, isn't it? The whole thing with the umlaut above the O means it's pronounced ooh. And I'm thinking, I'm being quite cool, not telling folk that. And I've watched a lot of German football. I've been to Germany a few times. I've been to about 7 different German cities, but oh my God, I've learned so much in those 7 weeks in my entire life that I've spent in Germany. It makes me better than you, and I'm like, it means you've got to spend you got Danny Röhl, and Gerd Müller, Uli Hoeneß and all that kind of stuff, and then Dr. Oetker. Well, the Bears, Union Bears, what the day, Danny Röhl. They all know how it's pronounced. They did Daddy Cool, just doing a wee rip off of Daddy Cool, and that is only that's the second time this season that the Rangers head coach name has been sung by the Union Bears, and it was the third time by the end of the game as well. I think Russell Martin's Blue and White Army came out against Victoria Pilsen, because we cuffed them 3-0. Ant-Man, the man nowhere to be seen today, but he was the man that night along with Gassama, and it was this is it. Russell Martin had given the players a gutting out after the performance at Motherwell, and I'm thinking, they deserve that. That's what we wanted. We wanted all these guys, these losers that would get any manager sacked. We all wanted them gutted out. We wanted them. He's went for them right early. It's not like he's going to go in there and he's going to change things up. And maybe he is. Maybe he's going to be the kind of Bertie McVokes, and Danny Röhl is ironically the Germans coming in as the Walter Smith and the Scotland team after Bertie Vokes seemed to have completely destroyed it. And he ended up, it was maybe the folk saying it was the best thing that happened to Scotland. Bertie Vokes done there. He took all the damage on him because the players just didn't have the players anymore, and Walter Smith went in and tidied it up. I think it might be Celtic fans. I think maybe people who didn't want a Rangers legend getting any credit for what he was doing with the Scotland team. But there's a point there, and it'd be just like the thing if Danny Röhl's coming in and doing the same thing. If Russell Martin has taken these players on and that kind of thing and sorted them out and really disrupted the dressing room, and just because we wanted that to happen. He's done the nasty stuff, and then comes Danny Röhl perhaps to tidy it up. We'll see what happens. I'm getting carried away. What was I talking about? But it's Danny Röhl. That was, we sang his name. We went 3-0 up against Victoria Pilsen, and it seemed like Russell Martin had sorted the players out and had got them played. It was a perfect response he was getting from them, and the goals only stopped when Tav and that night we're 3-0 up after 51 minutes. 3-0 up after 51 minutes against Victoria Pilsen at home, who were also wearing reds and blue. They say that like Kilmarnock were today. And were they? I think maybe that wearing an away strip. But their home colours are kind of red and black. It's tenuous here. You're getting carried away, mate. And we were pumping them 3-0, and then we brought on Tavernier and Raskan, two of the dressing room leaders over the last few seasons. And that's when the goals dried up. So it seemed like Russell Martin knew what he was doing. And he got a wee volley of praise from the Union Bears that night, but that was it. It soon dried up. And heard it getting sang twice a day, and the Union Bears are right in there with the proper pronunciation. So that was the Umlaut. The Umlaut is getting pronounced properly. And I was talking the other night about how Dr. Utke was one of the ways. I thought Dr. Utke was Dutch, the pizzas. Dr. Utke, and it's quite a sinister sound, but I think that's one of the roots of the real anybody that's a bit anti-German in Britain. It's just that kind of creepy pronunciation. And I thought that they've spelt it Dr. Utke. That must be one of the companies. It's not. I had in my mind they were Dutch. I think it's Dolmio or Australian. And there's some other company that does proper Italian stuff and all kind of cheesy. Oh my God, parts flowing. I don't even mean it. Cheesy adverts about Italian food products, but it's actually a Dutch company or something. No, Dr. Utke, I looked it up. He is actually German. The company's German, and Dr. Utke is a real guy. Just like Colonel Sanders. And his name's spelled O-E-T-K-E-R, a real German who's actually spelt it. And it's like a kind of a visual kind of transcription of the umlaut, a kind of phonetic umlaut. He's got in his name, O-E-T-K-E-R, as opposed to putting the two wee dots above the. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the whole thing is, Rangers won the day, and it was lovely. It was really nice. But in the Umlaut of Love, it's gone to Danny Röhl. I'm going to get and just a testament to him, and a kind of apology to Dr. Utke, retrospective for me miscalling him the other nights, but his lack of an umlaut. We're going to get the two wee dots there. One's a penalty spot for the Broomlin end, and one's a penalty spot for the Copeland end. Both ends that Rangers scored into today, and we're going to stick them above the O of love, the English word love, Liebe, love. And we're going to turn it into Löve. It's Löve, the Umlaut of Love. We're giving that out to Danny Röhl today. I have never experienced, not just before, not just during the game, the day or after the game. Most folk have got it in proportion. The guy's just won his first home game in charge of Rangers, but the changes that we saw, it's beyond that though. It's beyond that. Something else is something cultural is going beyond that. For Danny Röhl must be thinking to himself, Sheffield Wednesday, where it was, they've gone into administration and they're not fucking filling the stadium. They've gone they're celebrating as if they've just won the league. And then Rangers got 3-0 and they're giving me a standing ovation in the away end in Norway. Fucking Brits are absolutely mental. How did they beat us during the war, man? What was my grandpa? I can't help the war references. I'm just a man of my era. That's when I was brought up. Everybody was obsessed with the Second World War. It'd only been a few years before I was born. So, but you must be thinking, what the hell's going on here? But there was a love there for Danny Röhl even before he went over and apologised to the away fans in Norway the other night. There's just a love there from the moment he came in and he talked to us. And I don't think it's actually anything to do with Danny Röhl, but I think for me it is, because I think the guy's exactly what we need. And I think a lot of us are realising that from his press conferences. I think it's because we had that press conference on Tuesday where we got our pound of flesh from the sporting director and from the chairman even, and from the chief executive, the rather quiet, the rather taciturn chief executive. And I think getting the new guy in, getting rid of Russell Martin, it's let us kind of move on. I know there's a lot of bears at the political reasons they didn't like Danny Röhl, they love Danny Röhl because he's not Russell Martin. I think that's enough in itself. But Russell Martin, he votes green, that kind of thing. That's a lot of guys in there are kind of anti-woke, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. But you heard of Petra Kelly? Just look up Petra Kelly. Danny Röhl's probably the most kind of left-wing hippie manager we've ever had. Any of the Germans I've met over the years, I don't know what I'm talking about, folks. I'm just really happy. I feel as if it's been a real fun today. The love was in the air. It's been in the air since he took the job. It's been in the air even for Danny Röhl, even after one of the most appalling European doings of our entire history in Norway the other night. And it was in the air for the man today before the game kicked off, and it was certainly in the air. His name was being sung and pronounced, or being rhymed with correctly, the Union Bells. And I'm going home sailing on a wee Teutonic cloud. I've never felt such a... it's like a kind of a fund of love, a big slobbery EU butter mountain of kisses, of romantic infatuation, a store of adoration. It's just been something that's been backed up in the support. We're looking to find the man who we think is going to turn us around, who's going to take us to the next level, who's going to get us back on an even keel, which for Rangers, as I've always said, means winning titles, retaining titles, and winning lots of cups to go with it. And I think we're just looking to adore somebody, and Danny Röhl's getting it. He is absolutely getting it. He's getting the umlaut of love, and he certainly earned it today, repaid our faith in him. It was gorgeous. I'm actually wanting to do that. I want to do the ambulance chasing thing because it's just so nice to do it. No, I'm going to talk about a Rangers win after it. But let's go. What happened the game of the day? I'm Alec Anderson, and I'm here to talk to you after Rangers have beaten Kilmarnock by 3-1 in the SPFL Premiership this Sunday afternoon. First game after the clocks went back. It turns out to be only our second win over top flight Scottish opposition this season. I think our fifth win in all, because we beat Panathinaikos, we beat Victoria Pills, and we beat Alloa, and that's us beating Hibs in the League Cup and now Kilmarnock in the league. But our first home win in the league by nature, it's going to be against top flight opposition, Alec. Of the season, and it's nearly bloody November. So only our second league win of the season, and it's a nice one to get in there, because we are going to have the most. Let's be honest, it's the most Catholic week possible coming up, the most Catholic 8 days possible. If Rangers became Rangers, because we took on board the challenge of the Scottish umpire or the Scottish referee, whatever that old magazine was. But to challenge the Irish incomers, challenge the Hibernians. It was us that somehow we managed. I know there's a whole history there with the boys coming over from Northern Ireland to work in the shipyards and all that. But it's now going to be time for them boys to kind of stand up for us to answer that challenge again, because we've got Hibs, Hibernian at Easter Road on Wednesday night, Celtic at Hampden on Sunday, and then next Thursday Rome comes to Ibrox. Roma are coming to Ibrox next Thursday, so it's quite. It just suddenly struck me the other day. This is fairly, and in fact, Kilmarnock have got their badge, the Kilmarnock badge. It's the finger's been held up round about that fox. Sorry, squirrel. It's a squirrel. It's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The wee kind of, it looks like Vicky's almost been held up. So that's Christian generally, but I don't know why I'm getting into all this stuff. Sorry, it's dark. It's dark outside. I'm getting a bit darker in my heart. But yeah, we've won. I'm trying to say Rangers have won a league game at home at Ibrox for the first time this season. It's a wee indication of how things have gone so far. So that's a major thing in itself. Won the league game, and with the starting 11, the starting 11 was in itself. You're listening to, I was listening to the radio, coming in the car. I'm like, oh, what's happening there? One of the ones that gets you thinking when the guy just rattles off the starting 11. I think there's 4 changes. Derek CORNELIUS back in at centre half and played in place of Nasser Giga, who's on the bench. We had Diamandi. I wanted that. I was talking about in the preview pod. Wanted Mo Diamandi back in the team because although he can go missing, Mo Diamandi, when he wants to, when he's interested, if we've got a manager or a head coach who can get something out of him, he's got that pace, he's got that dig, he's got the legs to, especially in Europe. I think it's especially been so lacklustre in the Europa League, and I don't know why, because he couldn't wait. He chucked it against Genk, Dio, so we're just going to have to put all that down to Russell Martin. So I wanted Dio back in there, and he was obviously going to be alongside his old mucker, Nico Raskin. Who else? That was at the expense of Joe Rothwell. He was benched, and up front, Danilo starting. You're like, what? Excuse me? What? Pardon? Danilo starting. Big CHERMITI back on the bench, and that suits obviously all the people who were piling on Big Youssef the other night. Seen as being, it became the kind of totem. There's always got to be a totem. There's always got to be an icon of the problem if we're not playing well at any point in time. And it's Youssef CHERMITI was getting it the other night. I thought it was a bit harsh, to be honest. I was hoping he'd get a goal. I think it looked as if he could get one at Sturm Graz. He was certainly putting himself about like a player who just needed time, who just needed a few games. He was rusty, if nothing else. Everybody was garbage the other night in Norway, so he can't take any more blame than anybody else. But anyway, Youssef CHERMITI was on the bench, and we had the one and only. Danilo coming on to the team, you think, and Bojan was also starting as well, who didn't start the other night. But you think, so we're going with 2 strikers, we're going to play 4-4-2. But then Ant-Man wasn't in the team. Ant-Man was getting dropped as well, and Ant-Man I don't think was on the bench either. So I don't know if he's ill or injured or something. Ant-Man, the only time we saw Ant-Man today was on the advertising, the LCD advertising hoardings, because it comes up, I think it's an advert for getting your shirt, buying a shirt, Rangers shirt at the Rangers shop and getting a player's name in the back of it, and it's Ant-Man. I used to think it was an advert for some sort of lager, some sort of beer. It looked like a kind of can. I think I'm just showing my, trying to visualise, and the DT's kicking in. I can see cans of lager in the stadium, but I thought it was Ant-Man lager. I'm thinking, that's a coincidence, because it is Ant-Man. It's just I can overthink it at times. Like I'm doing with this podcast, I haven't even started talking about the game. Sorry, Arthur. I'm sorry, mate. I'm doing it again. I can't help myself. But it's Ant-Man was dropped, so I don't know if he's just injured or he's out the game or whatever. Is he suspended to get booked? I don't think he's played enough to get booked in the league to be suspended. I don't know if he's just bolted. He just went away in the huff, because he's like, you're playing Gassama on the right hand side again. What the hell's going on here? And what was going on? I think it only really properly worked out that it was the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2 after the hour mark, when Max Aarons come on as a replacement for Gassama, who had been playing in the right. He'd been playing the right-hand side all game. And I saw him coming right back. Literally, I saw him occasionally we were defending throughout the game. I think Gassama, he's played on the right-hand side for us in attack before, but he seems to be coming right back for when we're defending free kicks or whatever, or not, as the case may be, when we're defending set pieces. But he's right back. He's right. He's playing right wing back. He's playing right wing back, and Tav's on there. And it took me so long to work out that it was actually we're playing with the 3 centre. Tav's coming in to be a bit of a kind of centre half, come right back. It's a 3 across the back, because obviously Derek CORNELIUS can play left back as well, and you've got Magoma out there. He was so far forward all the time, but we got some no being on the left-hand side. So I think it's a bit of insurance defensively. A bit of insurance, because this whole thing of, we just go, I'm the same as yourselves, I just go straight for, we'll get CORNELIUS on at left-back and take my Magoma off, because he's struggling at times. Young Meg, or Mega, is that? That's called Mega. That sounds quite good. That'll boost his confidence. I don't know. Stop, Alec. Get out there, just get Derek CORNELIUS in there if you can play it left back. But no, what you do is you get Derek CORNELIUS in and you keep Magoma on, and you just pitch him out the road of the defence for most of the game. He can come back as a defence that's just kind of defending en masse. he'll be useful in that. He's just no use in the kind of 1-to-1 situation. But obviously it's Kilmarnock, and we're hoping that we're going to be pressuring them, even though they started the day ahead of us. That's now on a positive goal difference as well. We're on a positive goal difference. That's another thing that changed. Well, we're -1 going into this game, and that's us now. We're +1 in the goal difference, and it's not even November yet. But we got my goal out on the left hand side, and the thing is, not having Gassama on the left hand side, it actually freed up. It freed up Aasgaard, who was another whipping boy from the other night. Myself, I had the whip out for that one as well, because he just seemed to fluff. He get played into the really great positions against Brandbergen, and he missed. He didn't even get a shot away. He was completely fluffing the ball. I'm thinking, he's had good moments. That cracking goal against Dundee United 8 days ago, but it's no happening for the fella. I know what could. And this is we've got the new manager in, but he only had 2 days with him, Danny Röhl, for the game in Norway, and it looks more like Danny Röhl said. He's used the game in Norway as just a kind of examination of the players, and I think the players, going by the way they were playing today, and Aasgaard kind of epitomised it for me, because he seemed so free. It's almost like he doesn't have Gassama kind of clogging it up from him in that kind of inside left position he was going towards. He doesn't have Gassama clogging it up from him. Like he's going to be the most creative force down that side of the park, up that end of the park as well. So it's all on him kind of thing. I seem to suit him. He's got Magoma coming up and supporting him, obviously, but he's not outshining him, Magoma. He's not taking the. I don't know. It just seemed. He was by the end of the first half, Aasgaard. He tailed off a bit in the second half, but he was doing the kind of letting the ball curl along the inside of his boot and just laying it off all in the one kind of fluid motion. It was Ronaldinho light stuff that he was doing by the end of that first half. Really entertaining. He's doing little step insides and a step back outsides and on the one kind of movement, and it was fluid. And Rangers were fluid. It's not super fluidity yet, but that was the thing for me today. I think Danny Röhl has looked at them, obviously a couple of days in training, a couple of days when he took the job before we went over to Norway, and then in Norway itself, he's realised just how messed up they are, probably mentally and emotionally, and stuck in this thing that was being imposed on them by Russell Martin of kind of fixed positions. You could tell that Tav being all over the place and Raskin being all over the place. That's why Raskin was getting dumped by Russell Martin, and why he was falling out with Nico Raskin, and it was also why Russell Martin had totally lost the dressing room by the end, or had lost the plot. Had to compromise in his own style in a way that didn't suit him, and bled through into the play, because Tav has taken all the free kicks and all the by kicks and all the he's getting the teas ready for the players coming in at half time, and cutting up the oranges, and he's doing the shies and free kicks, corners, everything, penalties. But that's not what's supposed to happen in Russell Martin's system. Everybody's supposed to be kind of manning their area of the park and no coming out of that, and it's like make the ball do the work in the most kind of basic description of it. Whereas today, I think you could see the other night against Brandbergen, the players are too fixed in the positions. Nobody's tracing back, nobody's running back. This kind of criticism, we're getting no fighting hard enough, because they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They probably don't trust themselves yet to get out of the 2-3 months they've had of Russell Martin's system. Whereas today, it was Danny Röhl saying, "No, you can move about, you can change positions." There's a fat, verbose idiot in the main stand that I want to see how long it takes him to work out what actual formation we're playing the day. And at times, I think it was too up front at times with Danilo. I just kept thinking, what's Danilo doing? Is Danilo playing right wing? Is he playing wide right in a 3? And I think he's the supporting striker. I think is he playing 10 because Aasgaard's too far over to the left? And if I'm thinking that, maybe Kilmarnock are thinking that a bit as well. Maybe it's a bit of confusion for them. But it was like, let's just mess about, boys. Just go all over the park. You know your basic position. You know what I want you to do, basically. But just go out there and move about, be free. It's okay. It's going to be okay. And I think when we got the goal, when we got the goal in the second half, that put us 2-1 up, and having regained the lead, having yet again lost the lead without going 2 goals up, can I get that second goal? Rangers going 1 goal up is the worst thing that's been happening to us for years now. Especially usually against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park is the worst example of that. But even today, Kilmarnock at home, we go 1-0 up, and then they equalise, and it's like, oh, here we go again. Nah, it wasn't. It wasn't. We had a goal rolled out straight after that, but then the second half we go ahead again, and we eventually go 2 goals up, and there's just a freedom. It's like the players were working through something in terms of like the format, in terms of the strategy, in terms of the tactics, in terms of a new style. but also it's still a pretty basic style, playing a 3 at the back that goes to 5 when we're defending. But it was also emotional, I think, just getting our head round it. It's okay, we're going to be all right. There's a certain standard we're going to get to. The worry for Rangers will just be, are we going to win the league? And that's going to be different this season. Thanks to Hearts, it's going to be different this season. All credit to the Jambos. But it's going to be like, are we going to finish third? We got a chance at second. We might end up finishing third. That may be the best we can achieve in terms of the league. But that's the bit. It's okay. We're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to those kind of worries. None of this, are we going to get out at the bottom 6? Are we fighting relegation this season? Which is what was happening in the last few months. But so we go. There was straight away you could see there was something different going on. Just in case I forget to mention it later, but Mikey Moore came on in the second half as well. He's playing in the 2, or kind of supporting the striker. I think it was a 2 and a 1 up front in the second half, and it was just, that's the best I've seen from Mikey Moore all season. The young man, he's no going out wide. He's no having to go left or having to go right wide in a 3 or whatever like that, and it's just no happening for him. There's signs that he can do stuff, but it's no coming off. He was at it today. He really looked the part. You can see why we've got him there, and Danny Röhl's come in and diagnosed that straight away. So, God, it just feels good. It just feels good to be a bit reassured. So what was the first goal? The first goal was, oh my God, that was Bojan Majowski. Tav, free kick, deep in there. I think 2 minutes in Kilmarnock, it was a battle of the big men by the time the second half came on, but Kilmarnock had their big guy, their number 9, huge number 9, up front, and they were just hitting the big guy up front. That's an insult to their tactics. Stuart Kettlewell, a really good manager who's given us a lot of problems at Ibrox with Motherwell. But the big guy up front, that was definitely a thing for them. Because he knows their central defence is all over the place. So they were knocking it up long to him, and they were getting change out of that. I think they had a shot on goal. Was it a corner or something they won? The second minute in, and it was a big man himself who kind of won the ball, and he was there for the second ball, really, to get a shot away for Kilmarnock. I think it was 4 minutes in, and we were forcing Kilmarnock to make a bit of a kind of last-ditch block in their box. So it was a bit end-to-end straight away. But Rangers were getting more and more into the game. Really interested what we're doing. I think we have a free kick around about 15 minutes, and Tav on the left hand side, Tav taking everything. He floats the free kick into the box, and Derek Cornelius. And I was worried because Derek Cornelius was my thing when he came in the transfer window on loan from Marseille, and him and John Suter were. That was a way of like a clever complaint that makes me sound like I might actually know what I'm talking about. In terms, our biggest goal threat for the last few weeks has been what John Suter and Derek Cornelius can do in the opposition box at set pieces. And Danny Röhl comes in straight away and drops Cornelius for the game the other night. But he was back in the other day, and Tav just puts the ball right in his head, and he heads it in, and it looked too easy. It looked too easy. It looked to be too many players and too much space in the Kilmarnock box. So we're just waiting. I was just waiting for the VAR. It was one of the goals I barely celebrated, really. I was also holding on to the bag that Gary got me. I didn't want to go too mental in case I lost my tote. But it was a goal. The VAR was just the Clancy eventually points towards the centre circle. We're 1-0 up. This is nice, and it was it's the day that the clocks go back. It was beautiful yesterday, wasn't it? It was beautiful. It was just in keeping with this kind of weirdly optimistic mood, despite the fact that we had a terrible European performance the other night, and we've getting 0 points and we're bottom of 36-team table in the Europa League. Yesterday it was like Mother Nature was saying, okay, the clocks are going back. It's going to be getting dark at tea time for now on. So I'm going, the last day of it being light after tea time, I'm going to make it a cracker for you. It was beautiful, so crisp. So someone like me who hates the heat could still enjoy being out in the sunshine. It was so sunny. It was just a gorgeous day. And I think it was reflected today. It was the sun that had been peeing down all morning and all early afternoon, and then it was sunny. It was well sunny during the game as Tav puts the ball on Derek Cornelius' head for 1-0, and you're thinking, this is good. And we're just showing a bit. Aasgaard starts doing his wee Ronaldinho impersonation, and I'm thinking DANILO was doing all right. But then he had a shot, it was really tame, and I thought, he just doesn't have he can't put it away, DANILO. That's his whole thing. He just can't connect with the ball properly for a striker. It's never going to work. It's never going to work with him. But the new manager's got to try stuff out. I thought that's fine. And then Kilmarnock equalised from just an aberration. I don't really know what's happened. There's a corner on the far side to Kilmarnock at the Copeland end. Far side from the main stand, sorry, as far as I'm concerned. It's up at the Sandy Jardine side of the Copeland, the corner. The corner comes in, and I don't know if there's been a flick on by somebody, because my sight was blocked by Big Jack Buckland going up for a kind of high ball across the middle of his box, but Jack Butland did not block the ball. I don't know if it's Jack Butland has completely missed the ball, or there's been a flick on or something. Maybe it's a defender, one of our defenders that's flicked the ball on. It looked to me like it just gone straight over the top of Jack Butland and then dips down at the back post for a Kilmarnock just to walk it into the back of the net. Really, it was an aberration. It was a terrible goal to lose. Crud, you can get 5 at the back. And we still kind of do basic defending. Jack Butland's had a great season, getting all the praise and deserving it. So I'll reserve judgment on that until I see the replay. That's on me, folks. I'm not watching that properly, but that was it. Kilmarnock have equalised. Was that 38 minutes? You think, Christ, because it's just been that thing of get a second goal. Davy Fellas that's behind me, he was I could hear him saying, just get a second, Rangers, just get a second, and that's it. Going 1-0 up, it's been a terrible thing for us all season. Can he get that second? And that's another team. Just like last Saturday, just like against Livingston, even the other league game we've won this season, just like against Falkirk, we go 1-0 up, and it's 1 each. The difference this time was everyone wasn't pointing to it being 1 each. It was a kind of goal out of the blue. We hadn't switched off. It was just a bad moment of play. And we go straight back up the park and seem to have scored. And it's like, this is what we want. Maybe conceding the goal, facing up to that scenario that's haunted us all season and a few other seasons. And rectifying it straight away. This is fantastic. It's Andrew Kavanagh, I get it. Identify it, own it, and rectify it. And that's what we've done straight away. But no, I was saying to Davey, that's Dynamo Kiev. Davey, I thought that their goalkeeper had kicked the ball off the backside of one of his own players, and it just lands it. I don't know if it's a corner to us or whatever, and the goalkeeper just collects it. It's a packed box, so still full of our players who I think must have been up for a set piece. And he goes to do a quick clearance of the ball up the park, and it hits off somebody's backside, it looked like to me, and bounces straight at Bojan Majowski, who's got a tap in. And away he goes celebrating. And I celebrated more this time, and yet it was just a big VAR delay. And I think it was ruled as offside, so I'm assuming it's come off a Rangers player's chest, backside, whatever. And Oleg Kuznetsov, yes, people of my age, Oleg Kuznetsov would eventually be a Rangers player, wouldn't he, back that game against Dynamo Kiev 1987. 87-88 season, that European Cup game, reducing the width of the pitch and all that kind of stuff. And Dynamo Kiev, the goalie, whacked the ball off Oleg Kuznetsov's backside. Was it Oleg Kuznetsov's backside? I think it was his backside. And it was it Mark Falco got the tap in for the first goal we scored that night? Anyway, I was in the Western Close. I should remember that one. It was right in front of me. But it was ruled out. So I don't know if he's hit the ball off a Rangers. He must have hit the ball off a Rangers player. But did the rules not say? Let's get a semantic here about this. Did the rules not say that it's going to be played if an attacking player plays the ball forwards? And to somebody who doesn't have whatever. I'm sounding like that guy in the Fast Show, John Thompson, the Fast Show. Offside. It's when the goalkeeper, right? No, and the ball. Right, I know the rules, but he's not playing it forward, is he? The ball's getting played off him into the path of another Rangers player. It'll be a hot topic for debate on Sports Scene tonight, and one we can enjoy because it hasn't stopped Rangers winning the game. But it was ruled out straight away. It was ruled out, and it's like, bugger, chance to get back into the game. But at the second half-time change was Majowski had gone off, and on came Mikey Muir. So Danilo stays on the park. So I don't know what's and Majowski. If it was a battle between the two of them, I would be picking Majowski all the time. But whatever Danny Röhl has seen has led him to play Danilo, a guy who hasn't been playing hasn't been playing for about a month. So that's absolutely fine. And it worked out fine after about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It was a ball from Magoma. Magoma's got in that left-hand side, and he puts the ball right across to the back post. And there's Danilo kind of falling backwards and gets a head on, and I have to admit, I wasn't really expecting it to go in. And he gets a head on. It's a deft header, and the goalkeeper gets a hand to it, but it's so brilliantly placed that it goes onto the post and crawls into the net. It was actually a really surprising goal. It's only as I look back on it now as when Craig boy sits in front of me and says, it's just that goalie's shite. That goalie's an absolute disaster. I think it was after CHERMITI's goal. I was like, that wasn't a deft flick, was it, by Danilo? He just managed to get a touch on it, and their goalie's helped it in. He's having a nightmare, their goalie. And that's the thing when I'm watching Rangers, and I think a lot of you guys, but the same as myself, you're slagging Rangers rotten. You don't ever credit the opposition with how well they've done. Maybe the opposition were having a great day and we just couldn't do anything about it. You know, it's not always about Rangers. You've got to be a bit more kind of open-minded. Well, similarly, or conversely, when Rangers are having a great result, I never look at it as being because the opposition were completely crap and having a nightmare, or one of their players was having a nightmare. But the guys booted the ball straight off a Rangers player into the back of the net almost in the first half and get away with it, and he was failing to get on a kind of very tame DANILO header. But that's what you got to do. You got to do as a good striker, just get your, and a German will hammer that home like nobody else. Gerd Muller, just get a touch, anything. You get anything on it, and you get a chance of getting it in there. You got to buy a ticket if you're going to win the lottery, as Mark Haley said about his shot against Leeds United at Ellen Road all the years ago. So in it went, and it was 2-1 to Rangers, and the Kilmarnock come back into it a bit, and I think about 5 minutes later, I think this was one of the moments I realised I think we were playing three at the back. There was a ball, and we're probably just approaching the hour mark. I think it was at 56 minutes. Kilmarnock played a ball from our left-hand side right over to the right-hand side, right over our right-hand side, right over to the left-hand side, and it was that bit where the space between the advanced wing-back and the outmost centre-half, in came somebody, I don't know who, for a header, maybe it's the big number 9, who had a moment where he elbowed into Cornelius, I think, in the face, and he took a booking for it, and there was a few other moments where he was getting spoken to by Clance, and you're thinking, maybe that could be a second yellow there, but he didn't get set. He's putting himself about anyway, quite effectively for Kilmarnock, but somebody got a header in anyway, and Jack Butland, blame him for the goal Kilmarnock scored if we must, but down he went for a fantastic save. It was a point blank save down to his near post. He's keeping us 2-1 up. Am I doing a lot of A's? Sorry, I'm just over emotional. It's been a long, hard week, folks, hasn't it? We won. That was us. We're winning 2-1. And the substitution started, and we had Max Aarons coming on for Gassama. So that's Gassama, who Danny Röhl knows really well from his time at Sheffield Wednesday, who Danny Röhl turned into the £20 million player that he's alleged to be. Gassama, but he's played him on the right-hand side there today as a wing-back on the right-hand side, as opposed to the out-and-out kind of up-front, left-sided attacking player he's been for most of his short Rangers career, and he's bringing him off because he's kind of knackered him, and he's bringing on Max Aarons as the right wing-back. We also had, later on, we had Lyle Cameron coming on. Diamandi went off at this point though, and on came Connor Barron, and CHERMITI, big Youssef CHERMITI, come on for DANILO, who had run a great race. But I say Mikey Moore was fantastic in that second half. He came on at half time for Majovski, and he was really good, kind of inside, not out in the wings, inside, and he wasn't winning everything, but he wasn't giving up on anything either. And there's wee rebounds and flicks and that just coming from his sheer kind of persistence. And big Youssef CHERMITI joined in with that persistence, that kind of fight, that kind of, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to go smoothly. But who knows about that? Like the Germans, sorry, I can't just put this all down to the nationality of our head coach, but the Germans just, the way they win stuff historically. I think the only nation to come back from 2 goals down in, is it 3 major finals? They were 2-0 down to the Czechs in the 76 Euros final, and they come back to 2 each, and then they eventually get beaten penalties. They were 2-0 down to Argentina in the 86 World Cup final, and they come back to 2 each now, although they lost it 3-2. And of course, they're 2-0 down in the 1954 World Cup final against Hungary after the only game that Hungary team lost in 6 years. So they were 2-0 up after 8 minutes against the Germans in Bern. And Germany come back to win that one 3-2. It's 2 each after 16 minutes in that game, and they beat them. Das Wunder von Bern, the miracle of Bern, Das Wunder von Bern, and we're now looking at Das Wunder von Dan. Das Wunder von Dan, who was maybe the biggest miracle Danny Röhl can impart upon this club, is turning Youssef CHERMITI into a player. I thought it was there. I thought that you could see maybe no 10 million worth just now, but I could see the statistical stuff, the size of him, because you've got a direct comparison with Kilmarnock's number 9, exactly the same height, but bulkier. He's definitely bulkier, and you're thinking, yeah, what a unit he is, if we could just get him to score some goals. And after having a few he looked quite lively, he looked like he was up for it. Big Youssef, a bit hurt maybe that he's back on the bench. considering how pish everybody else was on Thursday night. Why is he getting the blame? He had a shot at one point. I was like, 1-2 getting played a wee shot for you outside the box, or the edge of the box, and I'm thinking, fair play, I think you've got that on target. And then it ends up in the back of the net. I think that's the moment I realised, I think their goalie's having a bit of a bad game. But in it went, and again, you don't buy the ticket, the lottery, and you win, they think you have to get a tick. So in it went 3-1, and I was roaring my wee heart out, roaring my wee lungs out I was, because they were 3-1 up, and that was it. Rangers have gone 2 goals ahead in a game. And I thought they were going to go 3 goals ahead. Nico Raskin, who'd been sitting more than anybody else, had been sitting in that midfield, which at times had me thinking there was a kind of 5-1, 2, 3. I'm going to end up counting. I'm not going to have 11 players in the total, some of these formations, but he was sitting more than anybody else, but he's starting to bomb forward a bit more, and there was a kind of 1-2. Was it him and CHERMITI, him and Mikey Moore? I can't remember. It was right on the cusp, but it was right in front of me, right along the line as well. It seemed a tad offside to me, but the longer it took, and ends up with Nico Raskin slotting the ball away into the net for to score the 4th goal with the coup de grace on Danny Röhl's home debut. And I'm thinking, this is just like Barry Ferguson. Remember Barry made it 5-0 against Dundee United after Barry had get rid of Paul Le Guen and Walter come back, and it took us a few years, but eventually we had to get rid of Barry, because I knew I was sticking up for Le Guen versus Barry, and I've been sticking up for Russell Martin versus Nico Raskin. And I thought, you're just having your wee moment now that the game's won. It did well, they did. Nico Raskin, he was playing well, but it was chopped off. It took a while for the VAR to decide it was offside. The ball that had been played through to Nico Raskin was kind of 1-2, but it was offside according to VAR. The longer it took, the longer it took to reach his decision, the more chance you think you've got of it being a goal. But it wasn't. But we won 3-1 anyway. There was only 5 minutes of injury time, which I was quite pleased about at that point in time. You're thinking, once it gets to like kind of 3 minutes, we're not going 3 minutes injury time. We're not going to lose the game, are we? And then it was great. We're not going to. We can't draw the game. There's like 1 minute injury time left. I think we've won this game. We've finally won a home game. As I say, I think what's happened with that, Danny Röhl coming in has obviously had a massive effect on the players straight away, which is what you need to see. I think he's just used the game the other night to examine exactly what they're like, what the situation is, what the state of play is, and what a remedy, what a solution he's come up. How quickly he has managed to turn them into a decent looking team. Still so much work to be done, but there was a kind of freedom about the players. There was a lightness about the atmosphere at Ibrox today as well. There's a lot of empty seats, but it's a Sunday. But I kind of lack of faith there probably for a lot of supporters, but that was promising. It's really, really promising. It's great to see Danny Röhl, who there's a kind of wealth of belief there in the fella, and it's lovely to experience. But the fans, the difference in the support the day, the difference in the atmosphere. There was none of the howling. That's usually what happens. See, when Rangers lose a goal, where they concede an equaliser, even as we did today with Kilmarnock, there's then a moment where we try and get back into the game straight away, but it doesn't quite work. Or Kilmarnock end up launching the ball forward again, and some Rangers player doesn't quite clear it properly, and it goes into the stand. And it did that today, went into the track, the ball, after we'd conceded the equaliser. And that's usually the moment in a game at Ibrox where the fans will be, fuck's sake! No, that's when it will come out, the howling, the total, I'm sick of this is a fucking shambles. Because you've conceded the goal and everybody's digesting that. I can't believe we lost this goal, but there's no... And you're looking for, I think VAR these days makes that even more likely that people are going to just kind of maybe try and rein it in a bit, but then there's a moment straight after it whether they make an arse or something kind of basic, and that's when the howls come out. And that happened today after we conceded the equaliser. The ball gets played up and up to us, and somebody missed it altogether, and it ends up going out on the track, and there was a wee kind of, no, I'm fine mate, thanks very much. Boy asked me if I want a taxi there. I've got that look about me that I need to get myself up the road. But there was the ball went out on the track sides, and there was a few folk going, but it stopped. It was kind of like, nah. And there's a few moments today where we tried things and they didn't work, and there was a kind of a light smattering of applause. Do it again a bit later in the game, a lot of applause. By the end of the game, we were up just cheering the players for not winning tackles, but just trying to make the tackles. It was lovely. There was a definite change, and I think it's come about. It's good to talk. it's good to communicate, and I know the press boys are always demanding more communication. They always want to they've got to talk to the fans. They've got to talk to the fans. I.e., they've got to talk to us and give us headlines. But we have wanted answers. The fans have wanted reassurances about what's happening. And I think the press conference that supposedly was announcing Danny Röhl as our new head coach, but really was all about the press and the fan media getting a hold of the sporting director and the CEO and the chairman. I think it had a real clear the air effect, which didn't even evaporate completely after the result on the park in Norway 48 hours later. I think everybody just wanted something. It's almost like a kind of, we're not sure about this, we're scared about this, and Russell Martins has embodied all the uncertainty and where we think it can go wrong, and he's gone, and that in itself has created a bit of kind of relief, and then getting some answers or being able just to recalibrate our kind of anger at a director as opposed to a coach or players, that's helped a bit as well. I was expecting real kind of a bloodlust for Thelwell and Patrick Stewart today. Didn't happen, nothing at all. Maybe there was banners that I haven't seen or whatever, but I never noticed and never heard any of that. And of course, Rangers scoring first, and that definitely helps with the overall atmosphere. But I think Danny Röhl has come in as well, and he's want to do something maybe similar to Russell Martin in terms of his ultimate plan for Rangers, but he's got a more kind of pragmatic way about it, and he's got a better communication method with it. I've been saying before, I don't think we can have people like Walter Smith anymore. The clubs have got too big. A club like Rangers is too big, and what's needed at a club like Rangers in this stage of the 21st century to be the club we want them to be. You need so many different people in the infrastructure of the club, behind the scenes and all that. It's because we've had these patrician geniuses through our history, Willie Waddell, Bill Struth and Walter Smith, who've done everything on their own in a way that just is almost unhealthy. It's certainly unhealthy for them, but it's something you've grown used to, and it's something you should never have to rely on. But I think we're at the stage now. Russell Martin's he's the opposite of what so many people have been looking for. You want a statesman, you want a diplomat, you want the guy who can be this kind of father figure to the whole club, the whole support. As the manager position is no longer there. It's head coach, and we get used to that and vented all our hatred about it through the person of Russell Martin. And now Danny Röhl has come in, and he's got a much nicer style. He's got the kind of style, the kind of demeanour, the chat, not just the personality that's required to get everybody back on board. And you can imagine very well how the players are reacting to that positively as well. And it's just given everybody the kind of. And what has also happened is the fact that we're not going to win the league this season. The blame for that has largely departed with Russell Martin as well. He can take that on board, Russell Martin. He takes it away with him. We know Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell are getting that as well, big time. But I think Danny Röhl comes in, and it's that situation I'm talking about. Let's let Celtic be second so we can slag them for no stopping the Hearts winning the league for the first time in 65 years. We don't know that's going to happen. I mean, I was saying to Gaz before the game there, it's like it's getting incrementally strong. The old firm are getting incrementally weaker each season in the past few seasons, and the rest of the chasing pack that's been so far behind us for 4 decades basically. Even when we were in the lower leagues, it was just Celtic keeping up the old firm team. We kept winning the league. We kept that league title trophy in Glasgow between the two of us. You say that'll really wind up Celtic fans if you're trying to get in their nerves. But like Aberdeen last season, it was this time of the season that they went to Parkhead and drew 3 each, and that was like, oh my God, they didn't buckle. They've stood up to Celtic, and this could happen. And Aberdeen kind of collapsed straight away almost. Next time, the Celtic put 5 past them. I think the next time they went to Pittodrie. No, they beat them 1-0, but they put 6 past in the League Cup semi-final. But by the end of the season, Aberdeen are winning the League Cup on penalties against Celtic. Winning the Scottish Cup on penalties against Celtic. This time, it's like Hearts are playing Celtic at home at this time of year, and they have doubled down. They've gone 8 points clear by Gubbin Celtic today, but maybe it will fall away a bit later. A part of me still thinks it's going to fall away, but you never know. Maybe. I remember being here in this beautiful stadium of ours over in the Sandy Jardine stand, and Sandy Jardine playing that day for Hearts. I think it would have been up at Dens Park when they lost the league on the very last day of the season. They threw it away, really, losing at Dens Park as Celtic won by 5 at St Mirren, or scored 5 at Love Street. and we were all kind of gutted. But Graham Souness was coming out onto the park, and Walter Smith came out onto the park. They'd taken charge of the team in the league for the first time as a partnership that day, and we'd won 2-0 to make sure we qualified for Europe. So we were on things, but we were all kind of gutted that it turned out that Hearts had given the league away to Celtic. And then, so maybe that's 40 years later we can sit back if we weren't expecting to even finish as high as third. If we can get above, we can start trying to get above Hibs on Wednesday nights. We'll still get the D United ahead of us as well. If we start trying to get above them on Wednesday night, then maybe by the time the end of the season we can get a bit of kind of revenge for that. Hearts, it's Hearts that really want the revenge. But I've got to say something else, folks, before I go. And I'm always doing these songs and singing these songs really badly, and it's a day for celebration. It's a day for singing. I've been talking about various figures and Rangers, but Kilmarnock, the only time they ever won the league was under the management of Willie Waddle. The only time he ever won a European trophy was under the management of Willie Waddle. And there's a great song that has been revived recently. You see it on YouTube and what have you. But I heard it, the first time I heard it was in my living room at Mum and Dad's when I was just a teenager. And it's an Englishman landed in Edmiston Drive and watched Willie Waddle with critical eye. How can we buy him? He asked Mr. Struth. And Bill, he replied, well, I'll tell you the truth. How can you buy all the cups we have won? How can you buy Mrs. Thornton's son? How can you buy our big Geordie Young? And how can you buy Willie Waddle? Nature bestowed all her gifts with a smile. The right foot, the left foot, the noddle. When you can buy all these wonderful things, then you can buy Willie Waddle. We'll give 30,000, the Englishman said, and also a star. Mr. Struth shook his head. You can give 30,000, the stars, moon and sun, but you can have Waddle, 'cause there's only one. That was from my Aunt Ina. My Aunt Ina. Who passed away this week. She's the lady. It's my great aunt, and it's my grand sister. One of my grand sisters. Of the three of my grand sisters, my grand's probably the kind of heartbeat, the Rangers heartbeat. I say the reason I support Rangers. My paternal gran, and her husband, my paternal grandfather, who I never met, he died before I was born. He was a Kilmarnock supporter. He was Catholic, and he was a Kilmarnock supporter. And my aunt Ina, Thomasina. My aunt Ina moved to Canada in the 60s, and my Uncle Andy, who passed away earlier this year, a terrible time for the charities over there in Canada. But they would come over and visit every few years, and when you were a kid, you got this big. Uncle Andy, he was Catholic as well, and one of the best men I've ever met in my entire life. Just an absolute legend of a guy, the most upbeat, cheery. Apparently, he was like the hardest man in the three towns, Russell, Salkits and Stevenson. When he was a young man, he basically had to get out of town, and move over to Canada because he was just fighting everybody, and everybody was after him and stuff like that. And man, I know the total opposite, Also makes me think about Unforgiven, but they would come over and just the energy, and Uncle Andy, just an absolute legendary guy. And this is the family I come from, and this is the stuff. And one of the times they come over later on, from Canada, my aunt were having, it was the old style sing song. She was one of my grand sisters, I would say, that was most like my gran. I would say, and my gran died like nearly 30 years ago. But still, it's like your gran. She's always the legend. She was the person you kind of love the most. And there's nothing complicated about it with your gran. That's what grans are there for. But Amanda Ina's her sister that's most like her, and she'd come over for Canada. And one of the times she came over, I'd maybe be about kind of 16, 17, and we're doing that thing. It's the house party. That's always, it's like if you're my age, everybody's sitting about having a drink and all that, and having a laugh, and then you'd have a wee sing song, and everybody would sing a wee song, and that was my Aunt Ina sang this song, and I was like, fuck, it's kind of like, I was Rangers daft. And I'm like, oh wow, I'd never heard it. And I was just remember the hairs in the back of my neck going up. And it's a song. It's based on a sort of how can you buy Killarney? It was like Bing Crosby, I think, made it famous. It's one of the kind of cheesy old songs about Island Killarney. I think is it County Kerry, in the west coast of Ireland. My Uncle Andy, I think was he actually Irish? My Uncle Andy, he'd come over as a really young kid to Scotland. He was never into the whole Rangers Celtic thing, and he was never into about all that. He was just he's just too tough for all that kind of stuff. He loved his golf and in later life, and he had too much energy for everybody. And I went over to Canada. That's what we all did. We all took our turns. I don't know how they ever got a summer to themselves with the pests coming over for Drussen to stay with them. But I went over to, I think, 1989. I was 19, and we just lost the Scottish Cup final to Celtic to deny us the treble. And I was at that where my super trendy, the greatest all-time Germany kit. I was wearing my Germany top to that game, standing Rangers ends. We denied the treble by Celtic and the referee. And I remember like going over there, and my cousins, who are actually like my dad's cousins, just like my Aunt Ina's my great, but he called her Ina, so we called her Aunt Ina. And she introduced me to carrot cake. That was the first. I'd never been persuaded to, because I thought, why do I want a cake that tastes like carrots? I didn't realise it. So she introduced me to that lifelong addiction of a carrot cake. Hers was the best I ever tasted, and just took us everywhere. Took me over. They just treated you like royalty, but made you feel so at home, and it was beautiful. Went to the baseball and all that. So I saw the Mariners at the Sky Dome in Toronto just after it had opened. The week after it opened, it's 1989. And I remember my cousin Steve and Andy, my cousins, and my condolences to the two of them. I speak to them on Facebook and stuff like that, but they would take me out to various places and that. But Steve, just the loveliest guy in the world, he took me to meet one of his mates. He took me to his local boozer in Scarborough and the outskirts of Toronto, the suburb of Toronto they stayed in back then. And the boy was wearing a Celtic top, and it was a joke. I went into the bar, but I was like 19, and I was fucking, and I cringe when I think back on it. I was just like, oh God, we're not for that. And he goes, yeah, man, we had a great time at the Garngad and all that, because all his family's full over there. And I remember Steve being a bit, what's your fucking problem? The guy's actually putting an effort. He's actually making an effort for you. He's wearing a Celtic top because he's just having a wind up because he knows you're a Rangers man. It's a way of acknowledging the fact that you're a Rangers supporter. You're in fucking Canada. Calm down. It was like, and his girlfriend, Steve's girlfriend, Ailsa, her mum and dad were from Clydebank, right? But I'd only ever met Ailsa, and she was like as Canadian as my cousin. As far as I was concerned, it was like an American accent, being a young idiot. And I remember going into her house one night. We were going in there, and it was a party. They were having a party, and meeting Ailsa's mum and dad, like this big, massive house and all that. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, it's the American dream. And hey Al, this is my mum and this is my dad. Like, all right, how you doing, son? All right, mate, how you doing? Nice. I'm like, what the fuck? What a disappointment. I was expecting used to be like suntanned Texans. I was waiting for something like Dallas or something like that, And they were brilliant. They're absolute legends. And I get mildly pissed at a house party they were having over there. And I don't know about the drunk driving, but we were getting driven back to my aunt and uncle's, Ina and Andy's, where I was staying. And Aunt Ina started singing the Willie Waddle song, and I was just in absolute tears. That thing of like a Scotsman abroad, just need to cross get the bus down to England. The minute you get into Hamilton, and the way down to pull in at the service station in Hamilton and start greeting for home, But there's a lot of other things behind that as well. But it was just beautiful, and I absolutely loved that song. And it was my Aunt Ina that introduced me to it. As I say, it's based on it was like a Bing Crosby tune. It's like a sentimental tune about Ireland and that, and they were playing Kilmarnock today, and Willie Waddle, what a record he had as Kilmarnock manager. And he did even greater things at Rangers, so it seemed unbelievably appropriate. If you don't mind, folks, sorry about that. I'm just going to remember my Aunt Ina there. But the one thing about today is I don't have to end this pod by saying, well, we'll try and have a nice night, folks, or I hope you have a nice night, because Rangers have won, a league game at Ibrox. So I know you will have a nice night, and you've thoroughly earned it, troops. Talk to you soon.